Hey guys, thanks for checking out my video. I've gotten a ton of questions about Trinity lately. Trinity is back as a hot topic. People misunderstand it. People don't understand it. If you've never used it before, it can be a very complicated gem. So I'm going to make this video explaining how it works, when you should use it, why you should use it, when you shouldn't use it, and everything you need to know. So here we go. What is Trinity? Very, very powerful support gem that gives you a buff called Resonance, which once it's fully procced, you get more elemental damage and elemental penetration, which is extremely strong. It's one of the strongest support gems there is for any elemental build if you can keep it procced. To keep it procced, you need to have 2 types of damage that are similar in power, not 3. Okay, you don't have to have fire, cold, and lightning damage to use Trinity. You only need 2 of those. You have to occasionally hit highest with both of the damage types, whichever 2 that you're using, to keep it fully procced. So with Frostblades, you will proc the fire and the lightning parts here with your Frostblades cold damage. You only need something to proc the cold part, which is the bottom part here, and you can do that with either lightning damage or fire damage. So Wrath or Anger can be very helpful for that, to proc the cold part, and then that's it. Cold and lightning or cold and fire, and Trinity will be procced. Your damage has to be balanced though. If it's not proccing, it's because your damage, you have too much damage of one type and not enough of the other. Most of the time people have too much cold damage and not enough fire damage or not enough lightning damage. So this top example here, if you hover over your Frostblades tooltip and it says this is your cold damage and this is your lightning damage, this is never going to proc, because it has to hit highest with both damage types sometimes. And this lightning damage number here is barely at the minimum of the cold number. So it's never going to hit harder with the lightning damage than the cold damage. But this bottom example here, if this is what your damage looks like, it will proc just fine, because occasionally this lightning roll will high roll and hit harder than the cold damage, and then the Trinity will proc. Okay? Your damage has to be balanced. On Warden, you get this new node, Oath of Summer, which turns ignites into Scorches. Scorch is incredibly powerful, even early on. I took it in the first lab, and it was amazing. To enable Scorch, you have to have a good amount of fire damage, though, and you have to have crit, by the way. So for this reason, I recommend early on, if you're going to use Trinity, you just use fire damage and cold damage, and use Anger instead of Wrath, because using Anger and fire damage will not only enable Trinity, but it will also enable you to Scorch, which is incredibly powerful. Okay? Some notes on Heatshiver now. Heatshiver gives you 60% cold as extra fire damage against frozen enemies. It used to say 100% of cold damage. They nerfed it down to 30. So that 60% of cold damage is not enough to proc Trinity. So once you get a Heatshiver, you can't use Trinity anymore, basically, because the fire damage isn't high enough to be more than your cold damage is, because it's only 60%. Okay? When you get a Heatshiver, or maybe before, you want to prioritize going full physical damage and cold damage on your claw, and have 100% cold converted, or physical converted to cold, so that you can maximize your pure cold damage, because all your cold damage gets added as more extra fire damage from the Heatshiver. Okay? You should also have Hatred on by this point, and get rid of Wrath or Anger completely by then. You want to go full cold when you get Heatshiver. Okay? You also need to have a little bit of lightning damage to shock, though. Okay? Just one lightning damage roll somewhere, unless you have Yoke. Okay? So don't take this literally. Don't go nothing but cold damage. You still need to have a little bit of lightning damage. Okay? Before you get Heatshiver, you can also use cold to fire support instead, to keep Trinity up and to get Scorches. Cold to fire gives you 50% of your cold is converted to fire, and then you get some extra cold as fire as well. This will work with Trinity, and it will enable you to Scorch before you get Heatshiver. So this is what I'm going to do once I get around to it. And then the same thing, you want to also go pure Hatred, pure Fizz and Cold Claw if you're going cold to fire. If you're going cold to fire and you still have Anger on, then you're going to have way too much fire damage, and your Trinity's not going to work. And Same thing if you have a bunch of fire damage on your claw, maybe too. You're gonna have too much fire damage. You want your damage to be balanced, okay? Big takeaway here is that Trinity is only for pre-Heatshiver setups, okay? Once you get Heatshiver, which is too powerful not to use on Frostblades, you're not going to use Trinity anymore because Heatshiver can't take advantage of it, and they're anti-synergistic, okay? But yeah, before you get Heatshiver, you want to take advantage of Trinity because it's very powerful, especially with the new Scorch Ascendancy. Okay, POB, I'm going to show you in POB some numbers here and what this looks like, okay? So in my week 1 POB here, with no Heatshiver, you can see with cold to fire support, there's cold to fire support there, you can see. The fire damage here and the cold damage are relatively balanced. You can see here that sometimes this cold number, 126K, is going to hit harder than this fire number, 92 to 184K, right? And that will work with Trinity. Okay, it's very, very powerful. High budget build with Heatshiver, okay, you can see the Heatshiver doesn't give you enough fire damage to proc the Trinity. You can see that the max fire hit here is 698, but the minimum cold is 824. So you will never hit harder with fire damage once you have Heatshiver. That's why you can't use Trinity. It doesn't do enough fire damage, okay? You want your damage to look more like this, balanced, so that you are hitting highest with both damage types, okay? That's the key. All right? That's it. That's all you need to know about Trinity. If you still have questions somehow, you can come by my stream and ask me, and I'll be happy to clarify something, okay? Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this helps you understand. Follow the stream, twitch.tv/ZishPoE. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be streaming a lot this new league here and having a lot of fun on Warden. Come by and say hi. Hope you guys are having fun too. And thanks for watching. See you next time.